It seems like there's two faults that people have. They either can't commit to a relationship and are always looking for something to give them an out, or another group that can't leave relationships that are obviously dead and have no future. So to illustrate this, I want to highlight 3 different examples of relationships that I'm drawing these conclusions from. One is you're dating someone, but it's not all the way there, and you're thinking, oh, should I break up or not? Then you decide to commit and give them a chance. You say you're going to work on it for a year, and then everyone comes through and you're so happy you didn't leave because now your relationship is even deeper than it was. Case study 2 is you've been married for a really long time, 20 and 30 years, but your relationship is dying. It's not the same as it was, and it feels like you're dragging a dead horse. But you don't really want to change anything. You want to maintain appearances, and you just feel like it's too much to throw away, but you don't really work on anything, and the relationship just keeps dragging on. And case study 3 is you're dating someone that from the outside looks like a complete train wreck. They don't respect you, they treat you bad, and you're just really not having a great time, but you can see their potential, but they have never shown you anything substantial to back up your faith. So the biggest question we have to answer for ourselves is, how do you know when there's point in investing in someone and waiting for their potential, and when it's time to just pull the trigger and break up? Most challenging thing that is also the most important is to find the balance between holding the vision for a person and giving them time to match that, and also not wasting time on people that are not going to fulfill your expectations. So of course, throwing away someone as soon as they make a mistake is not the right answer, but it's also believing people when they back that up with action. So if you're dating someone and you set some expectations and maybe they don't fulfill them all, but they're putting in an effort and slowly changing, then that's a worthy endeavor to keep investing in. While if you set your expectations and they're never met and you get shamed for them, well, then they're probably not gonna change. So in the age of modern dating, when you can break up with anyone on a whim and find someone in 5 minutes, it's a lot harder for our depth to truly come out. There is power in commitment. So when you decide to exercise, and if you're on a team and you have no choice but to show up, otherwise you, let's say, lose your scholarship, then you're gonna show up and you're gonna do the work. And you might not be 100% happy every day, but at the end of the 4 years of your college experience, you're gonna have something to show for it. And I think the same thing goes for relationships. But there's a beautiful tradition in the Scottish Highlands where couples would marry for a year, and every year they would renew their vow, but they knew that in that year they would be 100% committed to each other. And a lot of people, their best qualities and their best sides come out when they know that they have your unconditional love and support.
By the power vested in this unusual Scottish tradition, I
now pronounce us
man and wife.
Sometimes though, because our lack of self-worth and self-respect, it's hard for us to see when our boundaries are being crossed and we're being abused. So taking the perspective of people who love you, of your friends and family, is super valuable in those times, because we can paint an unrealistic picture of the person who we're with and not really be in touch with reality. Because the same principle that makes us invest time, energy, and money into business projects that obviously don't make sense applies to relationships, and that is the sunk cost effect. This means that once we've been investing time, energy, and money into something or someone, we don't want to let that go, and we'd rather keep investing in hopes that it flips and starts paying us back. But at one point, it makes a lot more sense to just let it go and count our losses. An easy check to see if you should stay or go is figuring out if you are the common denominator. So a teacher I love and respect, Layla Martin, talked about that when she was in her long-term relationship, there was a few times where she wanted to break up and leave, but they both realized that if they're having these patterns in this relationship, they're probably going to take them and repeat them in others. So they wanted to work through them, so once they met the person they really wanted to be with, they would be whole and complete, and maybe they didn't even have to break up at the end of their personal growth. And also, so if there is a pattern of same relationships where they either the same things happen or they end in a very similar way, then the common denominator is you. So in those situations, it does not really make sense to move on to the next relationships, because just by probability, it seems like the same patterns would be repeated. And in that case, it makes sense to work on those patterns and then make the decision. So we come back to the power of personal responsibility. You can be in a 30-year marriage and never be 100% in it, always waiting for the other person to change and for things to get better. But when you decide that you're gonna do the best you can, see the best in that person, work on yourself, and be the best partner you can, then your relationship is doomed for success. And if your partner at that point does not want to follow you and does not want to change, then you can still take all the good that you've built and take it somewhere else. So in conclusion, no one really knows. No one knows. I don't think there's enough positive role models in society of functional but also erotic and charged couples, and nobody knows what's best for you, because just like goals, also people fit different stages of our lives. And even though it might look like a complete car crash or disaster from the outside, for you it's fulfilling a deep need. So it's finding that precious balance of listening to other people and taking their feedback, but also listening to the deepest needs of yourself.